infrastructure suffered. At the peak of the storm, the whole power grid went offline and communications failed. We still have 70% of our island without power, 20% without running water, and 20% without access to networks. In Puerto Rico, we have lived the scenario of a shutdown of almost all the technological resources and a real catastrophe. That's the reason we are living in a humanitarian crisis in Puerto Rico. It caused total paralyzation of the economy, workers and business still unable to produce, and this is already impacting the nation. Puerto Rico plants produce 10% of the US pharmaceuticals and medical devices, a $15 billion market, and shortage loom already. Manufacturing represents 42% of our economy, 30% of it in pharmaceutical, medical devices, electronics, among others. One of the main issues in the numbers of roads and bridges that cut off limited response access and communities completely. That's the reason we need to look beyond immediate response for bridges, power grid, and blue tarps under the Corps of Engineers. We also need measures that enable rebuilding infrastructure, waiving the cost share requirement for all highway administration and FEMA disaster recovery funding, including permanent construction. Today, the situation in Puerto Rico is still challenging. 66 of 68 hospitals are open, but 19 of them still on generation power. 64,000 temporary roof tarps have been received. 18,000 blue roof installation has been approved, but just 4,000 are being installed. We are really shy in that number. 70 shelters continue open with more than 3,000 people on it, and most of the island still not able to receive regular commodities. That's the reason it has been mentioned that much of the damage we are facing in Puerto Rico is a result of an inferior level of infrastructure, construction, and maintenance. While this could be true in some cases, it must be noted that such is a necessary result of budgetary and funding limitations imposed upon the territories. Differential treatment in programs of funding, outright exclusion in some cases, be it by law or regulation, results in territories forced to do their best they can with extremely limited resources available because their political status limits their access to federal grants and credit backing or benefited from administrative or legislative measures to provide a more resilient infrastructure. This also goes to the disparity in funding from healthcare, and we can go on and on. The obstacles in the response process itself keep remind us of Puerto Rico's separate but an unequal condition. Immediate recovery steps that need to be taken include flexible application of NEPA and other regulations to balance the need of environmental protection with the major problem of the cleanup and the debris removal. Flexible application of requirements of housing subsidies, such as Section 8 housing assistance, to take into account that the majority of the housing in Puerto Rico is safe, but simply there's no electric grid running. Administration approval of access to public assistance categories C, G, under FEMA for major disaster declaration. These are the categories that address actual repairs to infrastructure, roads, bridges, water control facility, building equipment, utilities, park, recreational, and so forth. A comprehensive recovery requires that these be included as the extent of damages in Puerto Rico requires permanent rebuilding, not repair, of our infrastructure. Additional congressional measures will be necessary to enable the reconstruction of our infrastructure to begin. Action of Congress will be necessary to waive the cost of share requirement of the Federal Highway Administration Emergency Relief Program for FEMA funds, including permanent repair in both cases. In the case of Puerto Rico, it requires 20% local match in permanent repair projects, and the government of Puerto Rico, as you already may know, lack of funds at this time. Another important step will be enable Puerto Rico to access funds from the Infra Grant and Tiger Grant programs for the permanent rebuilding process. Those programs also need at least 25% of funding and require matching funds. Moving forward, the legislation in favor of small business growth, HR 2429, 2488, will help stem the drop of small business activity. Congress should consider creating programs in which dollars assigned to cover unemployment may be used to cover wage incentive for job creation so that the businesses can have their employees return to work. There are many other areas that we can continue to emphasize in terms of what are the urgent needs for Puerto Rico and the territories, and I hope this committee may find it in the written statement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate you being here. And I just wanted to tell you again, I don't think you or Ms. Plaskett weren't here when I said Ranking Member DeFazio, myself, and Congressman Garrett Graves are going down to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands Sunday and Monday with a contingent from the United States Senate. So again, I appreciate you. To see you. Somebody hacking in on me? I got a bit of a cold, but I don't think I'm wheezing that much.
Well, she sings a lot better than you do, Chairman, I'm just saying.
Well, again, Commissioner, thank you very much for being here. And with that, I recognize Delegate Plaskett for her statement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Schuster, Ranking Member DeFazio, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on the important matters of disaster response and recovery and